What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today I'm going to keep on pushing towards Legend using this Shadow Drapion team. This is a very similar team to the one that I used the other day with Shadow Feraligatr over Shadow Drapion, but I think that Drapion is just so flexible, so strong, and as long as you're not eating some Mudslappers, it's basically one of the best safe swaps in the game, and this team in general is just one of the most strong duos that we have in the game right now. Diggersby and Corsola, super bulky Pokemon, Shadow Drapion, very flexible, and it definitely helped me out quite a bit today. If you want to see my battles live, I stream almost every single day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN, where you can see live insights into my gameplay and see my teams early. I'd love to see you there. The link to that is in the description. But without further ado, let's get into the battles and see what this team can do. Alright, let's get right on into game number one. Diggersby up against a Shadow Dragonite in the lead. Alright, this is a tricky matchup for a whole team. Nothing on our team actually resists Dragon-type damage, and Superpower here would basically one-shot us if they end up going for it. So I'm going to stay in this lead matchup and hope I can play it out to the point where we can either win this or whittle down the Dragonite enough that our backline is not going to be that scared of this. Fire Punch ends up landing there. Buffed Fire Punch and these quick attacks are adding up, but if they land a Superpower, they will one-shot us at this point. I'm going to call the Dragon Claw. Fortunately for us, it is going to be the Dragon Claw rather than the Superpower, which means we do survive it. We reach another Fire Punch here, which won't quite knock them out, but it will put them into a range where we can easily farm them down later on this game with either our Corsola or our Shadow Drapion. They do at the very last second reach a Dragon Claw here, which will get the knockout against our Diggersby, but that's fine. We can farm down, likely get an energy lead with our Shadow Drapion, and normally Drapion up energy is a very hard Pokemon to overcome in the backline, especially once a fast food pressure Pokemon like that Shadow Dragonite is out of the way. We should have a lot of play here. It seems like a B-Barrel is going to come in from our opponent, not exactly the best answer to a Shadow Drapion, but this is looking good for us right now because this normal type is going to be able to avoid our Corsola, which means that we are going to have more play potentially later on, unless we're running double normal, which could be a little bit tricky. Surf going to come through. It is a spammy charge move, but because we are a Shadow Drapion and we're up energy, I think we can reach 3 crunches before they're going to be able to reach 3 surfs. We are almost at the next one. We're almost actually at the 3rd crunch at this point. We're going to overfarm as much as we can because I know that keeping this energy is going to be fantastic for us in the backline, just in case they have something in the back we need to throw charge moves against. They let their B-Barrel go, and we're going to see their final Pokemon is a Ferrothorn. One of the best things we could really see here because our Corsola has a lot of neutral play into it. They can't fast move farm down our Shadow Drapion either, and we can reach 2 crunches before they can even knock us out. They'll have to go for a full-on Power Whip if they want to take us out here, too, which means that they're going to have almost no energy for a Corsola in the backline. Our opponent at this point, no shielding, hoping maybe for like a Mud Boy in the backline, but unfortunately for them, we are not running ABA ground types. We have a Corsola ready to go. Just go for the full Astonish down now, and we'll take the win here with our little Corsola in the backline, doing very little, but doing enough to win us the game. Our next matchup we're going to see in Azumarill up against our Diggersby, a very bad lead matchup, but we have 2 things in the backline that are at least neutral, if not strong against this. We end up baiting out a Shadow Annihilate, actually. I'm going to go for an Aqua Tail bait. This might be a bit of a risky play, but I think a Shadow Ape is much more likely to shield the first move, which it looks like that is exactly what ends up happening here. And I can reach another charge move. If this is a Rage Fist, it probably does end up, it would be close actually if it knocks us out. An Ice Punch would knock us out here. They go for the Rage Fist, we survive it, and we land the Crunch against this Pokemon. This is going to do a lot of damage if it ends up going through. Are they going to shield? They do actually double shield their Ape, so getting 2 shields to 0 there with that matchup. We're going to come in with our Corsola and just hope they don't have a hard answer for us in the backline. We've seen an Azumarill in the lead. We've seen an Annihilate. So right now, it doesn't seem like our Diggersby has too much play, but if I get a full farm down here, there's a chance Corsola, up shields, up energy, might have some play into the backline. Counters are not doing too much damage to us there, but obviously they have added up quite a bit to the point where we're about a 1/4 of our health down. In comes the Azumarill once again, Nightshade gonna land, and since they don't have any shields, we can land the second one, try to go for the full Astonish down, and since they came back in Azumarill here, it makes me wonder, are they weak to Corsola in the backline, or are they just triple strong against our Diggersby, and it doesn't even matter what they bring in right now. I'm gonna just hope that the answer is that they are just really weak to our Corsola. I'm going for yet another Nightshade. It does a lot of damage. I'll be able to Astonish them all the way down at this point, and we have another Nightshade, or even a Power Gem potentially if we need it for the backline. If they swap in, we'll have to throw a move according to whatever it's going to be. It is going to be a Shadow Drift Bomb, actually weak to both rock and ghost type damage, but I'm going to throw the Stab Nightshade. It's going to do a lot. Might not knock out, but it puts them into range where we can Astonish them all the way down, and now our Diggersby can come back in, quick attack down the Azumarill, and take the game there. GG's to our opponent. Alright, next game here, another Azumarill in the lead. We just played one of these. Hopefully we can win this one as well, but it is one of the trickier leads that we could really see here. Azumarill is going to be staying in this time, though, it looks like. Last time they did swap out to an Annihilate, but this time we have our Shadow Drapion that is going to have to take a charge move. This was only an Ice Beam, though, that they threw, so I can easily survive this, go for a Crunch here, and potentially start debuffing their defense stat if they want to stay in. We'll have to see if they do stay in this matchup, or if we get a debuff, what is going to happen. No debuff, but they are staying in. Poison Sting is adding up, and despite the fact that Crunch is resisted, we are spamming out these moves so quickly at this point that that Azumarill is going to have to consider shielding or potentially just getting knocked out here. Looks like our opponent is going to stay in for just a second. Do they throw the next Ice Beam, though, or do they let us get the next Crunch off before they throw a charge move? They do let us throw first, which is going to be nice. This is going to knock out or draw a shield from them. They actually let it go, and in comes a Shadow Typhlosion. All right, that's a little bit scary. This Pokemon has a lot of damage, and since they have that energy lead now, they are going to outpace us pretty fast here to these Blastburns, and they're going to do a lot of damage. I'm going to try our best to fast move down with Corsola. Unfortunately, they threw after 3 Incinerates, that's 5 Astonishes. We don't get a Sneak, though, because of that 1-turn lag, which means that's a lot of damage that we are missing out against this Typhlosion right now. With that said, we're just going to double shield our Corsola, fast move it all the way down, potentially use our energy against the backline matchup as long as it's not going to be a terrible matchup for us. Looks like it is going to be a Pokemon our Corsola has play into, but this is still looking a little bit tricky. I don't really know what our Diggersby can do at this point. They have Icy Wind here. They have Astonish that we do resist, but our Corsola is also getting Astonished down pretty quickly, which means that our Diggersby, despite the fact that I'm not going to get two-shot quite yet by these charge moves, will be in a range where if that Typhlosion can come back in, they can Incinerate me down and potentially win the game with the energy lead that they're going to have there. They end up throwing another move here against us. They're almost at their next Icy Wind, so I'm going to throw this Fire Punch right before they can debuff us again. And as you can see, it's not doing too much damage, but maybe I can land an Astonish against this later on, put them closer to range where I could knock them out with the move. But also, if they come back in with that Typhlosion, I'm going to be forced to throw a charge move after 4 quick attacks here, because if I don't, I know for a fact I'm not going to be able to knock out that Drifblim after taking this Incinerate damage. In comes that Scorching Sands. I don't think a Fire Punch would have been quite enough after the 2 debuffs. We end up clearing our debuff here with our Corsola, coming back in Diggersby, and if we can get the Fire Punch off, which we can't on 1 HP, unfortunately we do end up losing that one, but GG's to our opponent. Next game, Diggersby in the mirror match. Honestly, this is exactly where we need to see it, right? Diggersby is a Pokemon our backline has almost no play against, but we do have Aquatail and Shadow Drapion. We have Corsola that, I mean, it's not good into Diggersby, but at the very least, they're doing resisted quick attacks against you, so I guess, like, maybe you can have some play later on in the game, but I do just want to neutralize this in the lead matchup if we can, but unfortunately, we actually got debuffed on the first Scorching Sands. They won CMP and got the first move to debuff us, which means this matchup is going to be a very annoying game. They're throwing another move here. At this point, I don't really know what I want to do. I could stay in this matchup if I wanted to just be fine really losing this, but if I want to clear my debuff, keep that energy for later on, and potentially start whittling this thing down, I can do a hard switch out to our Shadow Drapion, go for these Aqua Tails, and hope that they're going to stay in this matchup, knowing that a Ground-type Pokemon is generally a good answer to a Poison-type. They are staying in for a second. Either they could bait us with Fire Punch, or they could go for a Scorching Sands and potentially get a debuff on us, but it is going to be a Fire Punch bait. That is honestly probably the best case scenario there, because no chance at a debuff, but they did save 1 quick attack of energy. I'm going to go for a Crunch against this Annihilate that came in, and now if I can reach another one here, maybe there's a chance I can get a shield from them. I'm going to no-shield this, hope at this point that they're just going to go for a Rage Fist. They end up throwing the Ice Punch though, smart play, but I can come in Corsola, farm them all the way down here, and potentially use energy on Corsola against that Diggersby later on. This is going to be an interesting matchup. I have energy on my Diggersby, I have energy on Corsola. It's just going to come down to what their final Pokemon is. I honestly could see it being like Diggersby double Ghost with their own Corsola in the backline. If that's the case, it would be a bit tricky, but definitely very winnable here. And at this point, look at how low their Diggersby is, right? This is range where maybe these Astonishes and these Power Gems will be able to knock them out. Not quite yet, but we're in the range where that is going to be a possibility potentially later on. They come in with their final Pokemon. I'm going to see that Corsola. Yeah, it is going to be a double Ghost team from our opponent here. Nightshade should draw a shield, and since we have so much energy on our Diggersby, I think there's a decent chance we can win this one. Scorching Sands number 1 is going to come through. I think we're going to need 3 of these if we want any chance of knocking them out. We get a debuff on that first one. It doesn't really matter that we got the debuff because at this point we do still survive the Astonish and Power Gem damage, but it is also going to be kind of nice not to take as much damage as we possibly could. Our opponent does end up throwing a charge move here. It's likely going to be a Power Gem that is going to be the best option to throw because Ghost is extremely resisted. Rock is only mostly resisted here by Diggersby. They end up either CMPing us here or, well, it was probably a CMP. I didn't see an Astonish come through. We get the Fire Punch through, which is going to be able to get them very low. They end up not actually CMPing us here, which means they were probably waiting a turn to make sure that I wasn't going to catch, but this time I do catch, but I didn't really want to catch. All I want is this Astonish to land and knock out the Corsola, and then all it takes is one more Astonish to take out the Diggersby. GG's to our opponent. Next game, Diggersby up against a Dunsparce, one of the best leads we could see. Once again, a Pokemon our backline doesn't really want to see here. Our opponent ends up safe swapping a Talonflame, a Pokemon that we do have our Shadow Drapion to answer. Even our Corsola could answer this having a Rock-type charge move, but the thing is, Power Gem is going to be a very slow move. I think Talonflame can actually kind of brute force its way through that matchup, so I came in Shadow Drapion where I know I can guarantee switch advantage no matter what. Looks like we both kind of made a misplay here. We went for a CMP against an Incinerate. That could have been very bad, but luckily since it was a CMP, we didn't end up letting a full 5-turn move through. Another Aqua Tail is going to come through now. Since the first one didn't knock out, this one likely will get a shield if they want to try to get both of our shields down. But I think at this point, since they had to throw on bad timing, I can shield a second time here, go for a full Poison Sting down, have Crunches to go against that Dunsparce, and then we can hope that the final Pokemon is a pick that we have a lot of play into in the backline with our Corsola. In comes that Dunsparce. This is going to do a lot of damage here with Crunch. It won't quite two-shot them. If I get a debuff and I can get another Crunch off, then it might draw a shield, but we do get the debuff, but not quite yet going to reach a Crunch. Only going to reach this Aqua Tail. It's still going to do quite a bit of damage, though. Put them close to either Farm Down range, or maybe even just a Fire Punch later on. Maybe even just a Nightshade from Corsola could do it. In the back, going to see one of the scariest Pokemon, though, that we could possibly see. They did a nice job baiting out a Shadow Drapion with that Talonflame, and now the Superior is basically unchecked. With that said, we do have a Fire Punch that we can throw against them with our Diggersby. We also have Corsola, one of the bulkiest Pokemon in the game, and has very efficient charge moves here, and fast moves with Astonish and Nightshade. So what we're going to try to do is draw the final shield from this thing, go for a Nightshade, and do as much Astonish damage as we can against them to put them into range where our Diggersby can deal with this later on. With that said, I think this next Frenzy Plant is going to be enough to knock us out here, and since they have an energy lead, they can likely get to another move against our Diggersby before swapping back out to Dunsparce. This is going to be a very close endgame. I know I can survive a Frenzy Plant here, but they have energy on their Dunsparce. They're almost at the move. They're almost at the Drill Run, that is. So if I cannot take a Frenzy Plant and a Drill Run, I'm going to lose this game. In comes that Dunsparce here. They're 3 away from their next move. So what I have to make sure of is I overfarm perfectly. I need a Fire Punch for that Superior later on. So we do 4 more quick attacks right before the next Drill Run is going to be reached, knock out this Dunsparce, and if I can survive 2 more Vine Whips, I can reach the next Fire Punch and still win this game. 1 HP Diggersby ends up surviving, gets the move off, takes out the Superior, and even though we had a lot of good matchups here throughout the game, a very close matchup due to that Core Breaker in the back. Alright, next matchup we're going to see a Diggersby up against a Shadow Jumpluff, a Pokemon we have a lot of play into. I don't really know if I like swapping out here or just staying in. I know a lot of the time these Jumpluff end up having Mud Slappers in the backline, so I didn't really want to save swap or Shadow Drapion, and I know it could also be a Dunsparce where our Corsola would just get hard-walled, so staying in this lead can sometimes just work out for us as well, making it so I can go and kind of soft lose this matchup, maybe farm down with my backline, and they are throwing a charge move here, likely going to be an Energy Ball. It does a lot of damage, but not quite enough here to knock us out with the next Aerial Ace, so they are forced to throw 2 Energy Balls if they want to take us out. Next Fire Punch going to come through, put them deep into the red. At this point, that's an easy farm down for a backline. I know I survive an Aerialist, and if they want to throw an Energy Ball, that's a lot of energy down the drain. Our opponent does opt to throw an Ace, actually, rather than the Energy Ball. We survive. We end up winning the Zero Shield matchup here with our Diggersby. With that said, they likely are going to try to farm us down with something. I don't really want to give a huge farm down to whatever comes in. What is it going to be here in the backline? If it's going to be something we don't want to give a big farm down to, like this Clodsire, we're going to have to swap out. If we gave him too many Poison Stings there, we'd probably just lose the game. So it's a good thing that we swapped out and also baited out this Dunsparce. With that said, this can be a little bit uncomfortable because this Pokemon does have access to Drill Run, and because we don't have quite as big of an energy lead as I'd like, there's a chance they can get to 3 Drill Runs before we can get to 4 Charge Moves. We got the Defense Drop on the first move here. I'm not quite sure, though, if an Aqua Tail is going to be enough to knock out this Dunsparce, so I'm going to go full for a Crunch right now. Maybe I should have gone Aqua Tail just to outpace this thing a little bit better, but I think going for the Crunch, guaranteeing a shield here, or guaranteeing just to knock out this Dunsparce is going to be the play. At this point, though, I am going to throw an Aqua Tail. It looks like my opponent is going to try to keep their Dunsparce alive, so I want to get this thing out of the way if we can, and if I can here, I'm going to go for a catch on our Diggersby, make sure that we drain all of their energy to keep our Dunsparce, or our Shadow Drapion rather, alive. Dunsparce throwing a move against our Diggersby, which they probably would not want to do, and now we know there is still that Clodsire in the backline, but this Dunsparce is a lot less useful. They are going to stay in for just a second here, throw another move, get our final shield, and now it's going to be an interesting play here. Do they swap out? Do they stay in? What is going to be their play this game? They come in with their Clodsire. This is going to be a little bit annoying if I can't get 2 Aqua Tails. They have a little bit of energy on this thing, so if they can reach either a Stone Edge or an Earthquake before we're able to reach this next Aqua Tail, then this is going to be a bit of a tricky endgame. Looks like they did reach a charge move here. What is it going to be? We survive a Sludge Bomb, but it is going to be a Stone Edge, which likely means it's a Stone Edge and Earthquake Clodsire right now. The thing is, our team has so much play against these Clodsires, though, that our Corsola can come in, start going for Astonish damage, and as long as we have enough energy to reach a Power Gem against that Dunsparce later on this game, we should be able to win this matchup, despite the fact that a Normal-type Pokemon is generally one of the worst things you could see with Corsola. I'm hoping right now that they won't reach an Earthquake. Is this Nightshade plus the Astonish damage going to be able to take them out before they can reach their charge move? It looks like it would be enough here, and because Dunsparce had almost no energy when it swapped out, we actually are also able to reach his Power Gem, take out the Normal-type Pokemon with our Ghost-type, and Astonish down the Clodsire, taking the game there. GG's to our opponent. Alright, next matchup. What are we going to see with our Diggersby? It's a Stunfisk. Unova Stunfisk, actually. Probably, honestly, one of the best things we could possibly see here. They end up safe swapping actually one of the worst things that we could see, and the way that I like playing out these Primate safe swaps is going for a Fire Punch and then swapping into Corsola. By going for the Fire Punch, you put them into range where if they want to try to two-shield through Corsola, they're just going to get fast move farm down, and if they end up shielding that, then you can go for Nightshades, and at this point, because we are going to be able to take 2 charge moves, we can always just win this matchup. The one awkward thing, though, is you are forced to throw a Nightshade here, or else they will get to a 3rd Rage Fist just because of how spammy this Pokemon is. So despite the fact that this is a guaranteed way to keep switch advantage, it's not really a guarantee guaranteed way to just hard win this matchup. This next Nightshade will either draw the shield or get the knockout against his Primeape, our opponent opting to let that go. And now we have kept switch advantage, which means our Drapion gets to avoid that Stunfisk, but this also means that there could potentially be something bad in the backline, and giving this farm down over to this Ufisk could also be bad if they end up combo playing our Drapion later on this game. Nightshade ends up coming through, doesn't quite get the knockout. I mean, it's not even close to a knockout, almost puts it at half health. But they have their final Pokemon on the screen right now, a superior Pokemon that obviously our Drapion is fantastic into. But with that said, if I go down shields, I know that Ufisk has so much energy at this point, they might be able to go for a Mud Bomb, snipe me down later on this game. So I don't want to do anything that I, I don't want to shield first, that's what I'm trying to say here. I don't want to shield first, because if I end up shielding first, then maybe they can make some combo plays happen, save a Frenzy Plant with the superior, knock out a Drapion with Mud Bomb, and then the game could be kind of unfortunate and a little bit awkward. With that said, at this point, I think we can shield this up, because they've shielded twice, I believe, on this superior. That is just our first shield, and I will CMP them actually with this Aqua Tail on their next air release. By shielding this, or by CMPing this rather, this is going to put them into range where I can fast move them down potentially with Diggersby, or just guarantee that Fire Punch will be enough. And at this point, I know that we've landed that Nightshade against that Ufisk, so we can potentially knock them out with a Scorching Sands with our Diggersby, and just maybe even quick attack them down after the fact if it's not quite enough. In comes that Ufisk. We know they have a lot of energy here, but they probably need 3 or 4 charge moves to still take out our Diggersby. We are very healthy still. Yeah, it's not even going to do anything to us here, and the fast moves are almost going to do nothing to us as well, right? It's a Thunder Shock against your ground type. This is looking like one of the best matchups we could be in. We end up nearly knocking them out with that Scorching Sands, but we can quick attack all the way down, go for a Fire Punch against that superior later on. Next Mud Bomb does not even put us into the range where the final Mud Bomb could even knock us out. Our opponent realizing at that point not much they can do. GG's to them. Alright, next matchup. What are we going to see? A Dugong actually in the lead. A little bit of an awkward Pokemon here. I'm going to safe swap our Shadow Drapion and hope that they don't go for annoying Icy Wind baits. There's always that kind of 50-50 call. Do they go for Drill Run, which would knock you out, or do they go for Icy Wind, which would debuff you? It wouldn't quite knock you out, and it would make the matchup a lot better if they end up no-shielding the Icy Winds. I'm going to shield, though. I don't want to go and get one shot here this early on this game. Our opponent opts, though, to go for the Icy Wind. An amazing play by them. Makes it so that we are debuffed, and they also got the shield as well, which means that this is a very bad matchup for us right now. Crunch ends up landing here and puts them into range where we can Poison Sting down. That's kind of an interesting play. So I guess they're really not that scared of Drapion in the backline, or maybe they are because they come in Malamar of all things. This is looking all right for us right now. Crunch is going to do a decent chunk of damage, or maybe get a shield from them. Okay, I got a shield on a debuffed Crunch, and we also get a defense drop here. This game is looking better and better by the moment right now, but I am worried about the potential Pokemon that could be in the backline. There's a lot of things that could core break our Drapion and our Corsola. Potentially like a Flyer in the back could still be kind of bad if it's like a Mandibuzz, maybe a Moltres, like a normal type as well. Dunsparce could be a little bit tricky here. It really depends on what they're going to have. They just made a catch on their Moltres with a Scorching Sands. That is honestly one of the worst things that could have possibly happened here. No debuff for us either. Okay, well, this is looking kind of bad. Now, I still have my Shadow Drapion alive, but the thing is about this, I don't think I'm going to be able to outpace them to 3 charge moves that I'm going to need before they can either Sucker Punch me down or go for 2 Ancient Powers against us. There's still that Malamar alive as well, and we have a poor little Corsola in the backline who has almost no play right now. I could shield this and get off another move, but if I shield this attack, I know for a fact they can just go for a Brave Bird against our Corsola, so what I need to do is hope that I can Astonish this all the way down, have 2 Nightshades for the Malamar, and potentially knock them out with 2 charge moves. They're going to throw a charge move here. It's likely going to be a Brave Bird, but the thing is, I'm not anywhere near enough energy where I could outpace this Malamar to reach 2 Nightshades before they can reach a Foul Play. Even if I could, I don't think it would be quite enough to knock out from this range, so our opponent making a fantastic catch, winning this game, and honestly just kind of styling on me this entire matchup. GG's to them. Alright, next game, what are we going to see our Diggersby lead off into? A Guzzlord. Alright, a Pokemon our backline doesn't really like to see, but a Pokemon that our Diggersby is in a very comfortable spot against. If we can get these debuffs in the lead matchup, I'm going to be in a pretty good spot here. If I don't get any debuffs, then honestly they can win the 1-0 shield matchup pretty easily, where they even have a charge move coming out of it. But the 0 shield matchup always goes to Diggersby just because we kind of outbulk them here. We have better charge moves, better fast moves. They end up going for another Brutal Swing, and we can probably outpace them here if they don't want to throw any bad timing. Yeah, they could have thrown a Brutal Swing before this move. We haven't got a debuff off yet, but they would have maybe wanted to throw before this potential debuff. But if they don't get debuffed here, then it doesn't even matter for them. They don't even get debuffed by that second Scorching Sand, so at this point, I'm just going to let this go, and even though we don't have a great answer to this in the backline, just kind of neutralizing this so much at this point means that our Corsola should have more play. I'm going to come in Shadow Drapion. We have neutral charge moves here, fast moves rather, and resisted charge moves, but at this point, even an Aqua Tail would be enough to knock out. We're going to farm up as much as we can right before they reach another charge move. Luckily, they are not running Dragon Claw. That was a Brutal Swing they threw, but I don't want to take another one. We're already pretty low at this point. And we want to keep some health on our Shadow Drapion if we can. In comes a Dugong in the back. This is looking like a very neutral game, but it could be a little bit uncomfortable right now if they end up switch locking my Corsola later on with an Icy Wind debuff. Because of that, I want to keep our Drapion alive. I want to potentially maybe even store this move, because I know at this point this crunch is not going to be enough to knock out, but I also know that Corsola is going to be locked in with an Icy Wind debuff if they end up staying in here. They are staying in, which kind of, to me, makes me think that they're not very strong against Corsola in the backline. Maybe a Poison type in the back, maybe a Clodsire, something like that pairs very well with a Guzzlord. They're staying in even longer here, actually, which is crazy to me. I'm going to throw the Nightshade, but they make a catch on Toxapex. Man, I should have thrown that a little bit earlier, guaranteed the knockout against the Dugong. Now there's a Toxapex on our screen, and since I'm switch locked in with a debuff, this is honestly a very awkward matchup. I'm also pretty low on our HP right now. They're one move away from an Icy Wind with that Dugong, and this Nightshade is going to do almost nothing once again because of that debuff. What I need to do at this point is hope that I can put them into range where I can knock them out with a Crunch with our Shadow Drapion, but I don't know if it's going to be quite ranged just yet. We can survive a brine here. Toxapex being a very bulky Pokemon has almost no damage. I'm going to save a lot of energy on our Corsola, come back in Shadow Drapion, go for this Crunch, potentially either draw a shield here or maybe even get a knockout. What does my opponent try to do? They end up no-shielding that and then swapping into a Dugong. I'm going to shield this up. I know they have a move here on Dugong. I know they have a move on that Toxapex. What I need is I need to be able to get this Aqua Tail off. Either have them shield this or be able to Poison Sting down that Toxapex later on. If they shield this, I have a move on my Corsola as well, a Nightshade ready to go. They end up shielding that attack. I know at this point all I need to do is Astonish down, win CMP against the Toxapex, and we should be able to win this game. Toxapex had almost no HP left over, but because of that charge move, it was a little bit scary to play around, but Corsola able to win CMP over something here in the Go Bad League and getting us a win in that game. Alright, next matchup, a Shadow Drapion up against our Diggersby. A very good matchup here, backline Pokemon, especially Corsola, does not want to see this, but if we have to waste our Diggersby here and then they have something tricky in the backline, it could be a little bit uncomfortable. They're going to throw an Aqua Tail, it looks like, here on CMP. I went for a Fire Punch bait, because a lot of the times you're kind of just forced to shield this matchup, right? It's a Shadow Drapion, it's going to get one shot by a Scorching Sands if they let it through. Fire Punch ends up getting a shield, which is fantastic, but what are they going to do here on the next one? We're going to throw yet another Scorching Sands here on a CMP, and this is going to be kind of good, right? We can get 2 shields to 0, but the thing is, if I want to win this matchup, I have to give my 2 shields back anyway, so I don't know exactly how useful this is going to be. Scorching Sands ends up either landing or getting shielded here. Let's see. It does actually get a double shield from our opponent, which is going to be a very interesting thing to see right now. I could try to shield this up, go for 2 more, or another Scorching Sands here after taking 2 Aqua Tails, and just winning switch advantage this game could potentially help us out. They have another Aqua Tail ready. I have a Scorching Sands ready to go on our Diggersby, and hopefully we'll be in a good spot in the back line. Well, with that said, that is a Diggersby on our opposing side here. One of the worst things we could possibly see. I'm going to go for a Scorching Sands, try to debuff them. No debuff here. I have to swap in Shadow Drapion here, which is one of the worst matchups you could possibly imagine. I am going to be able to get to an Aqua Tail, but the thing is, at this point, we do survive that move, but we're almost in Quick Attack downrange. If they can Quick Attack us all the way down, our Corsola is going to be sitting in the water, not having anywhere to go right now. There's still a Drapion in the backline. This Pokemon is forced to throw a Fire Punch, it looks like, right before we get that Aqua Tail. They didn't want to risk it, which is good, I guess, but I mean, how am I going to finish this off? I have a little bit of health on our Drapion, or on our Diggersby rather, but Drapion comes back in, and they're going to get a Crunch off here too. At this point, all I can hope for is that maybe there's something in the backline, or Corsola can one-shot with a charge move. I don't even know what that would be, like a Talonflame that we could one-shot potentially with a Power Gem? I don't know, that's like the one win condition I could see right now, but I'm going to try to play it out, see what we can do right now. Aqua Tail ends up knocking out Diggersby. We Astonish down all the way against that Drapion, and what is going to come in here? It is actually going to be the Diggersby. I don't know if we can even take this out, though, with one charge move here. We might need to expend all of our energy right now, which is absolutely terrible for us, because if we have to throw another charge move, then there's almost no way we're going to be able to win against anything in the backline. What is going to come through is a Fire Punch of all things. If I can reach maybe back-to-back Nightshades, maybe there's like something I can one-shot with a Nightshade in the back. I'm going to try our best right now. Our opponent seems like they're kind of into Corsola right now with the way they're playing this out. Nightshade does knock out the Diggersby. It's just an Azumarill in the backline, dude. They're just kind of toying with me at this point, I guess. But, I mean, at least I saw the third Pokemon, but that was a very bad match. Once we got rid of our Diggersby, their opposing Diggersby was one of the worst things you could possibly see, and as you can see, a little bit awkward for us. Alright, this is actually the best lead we can really see here, though. Corsola is so weak to Diggersby, and they end up coming in with a Diggersby of their own. I would rather have my own Diggersby against their Corsola, but since I don't have an answer for their own Diggersby, I still have ways I can deal with Corsola in the backline, and just neutralizing this Diggersby on our own is going to be very helpful. We don't get a debuff once again in this mirror matchup. If they get a debuff, that's going to be kind of bad. Of course they get the debuff, that's just kind of the name of the game right now. Another Scorching Sand's going to come through here, maybe I can get a debuff back in return, and hopefully kind of neutralize this matchup out. If I do, then I'm going to be happy, but once again, no debuff here, which means that they have yet another opportunity to maybe get a second debuff against us, but at least since we are up 1 one turn, it means that we're always going to like get our move off first. We can go for a third Scorching Sands. And the worst thing about this, though, is they can always win this matchup, go for a Scorching Sands to knock us out, but we might be able to get a reverse farm down with either our Shadow Drapion or our Corsola. They throw a charge move. If this is a Fire Punch, maybe we can survive and get a Simul. If this is a Scorching, they definitely knock us out here. And it's just going to be a Scorching. We can get 2 Astonishes out of this matchup, and maybe if their backline is not strong against Corsola, we can have a lot of play here. What is going to come in right now? I know Diggersby is out of the way for our Shadow Drapion, but maybe they just have double ground, and that would be absolutely terrible. Our opponent makes the right call. Unfortunately for us, they come in Corsola into our Corsola. Hopefully we'll get a shield here. If we do, we're in a very good spot. No, our opponent opting to actually let that go as well, which means Corsola on our opponent's side finding its best possible matchup and playing out the best way they possibly could, knowing that I have a Shadow Drapion in the back. I don't want to just rely on that thing completely. They actually have an Azumarill as their final Pokemon, and I think at this point, though, despite that Azumarill absorbs all of our charge move pressure, we have so much fast move pressure, and potentially spamming out our charge moves should be able to win us this game. Player ends up getting shielded. That's fantastic. They're going to have to take 1 extra bubble, as if they would have gone for Ice Beam. It would have been a little bit cheaper. I have a Crunch ready to go against this thing right now, and I can reach another charge move in just a second. I'm going to throw an Aqua Tail actually at this point, because if they don't shield this, they're going to be in range where I can easily just fast move farm them down. They're basically forced to shield this at this point, and since they forced to shield an Aqua Tail, this is going to make it so we can reach yet another charge move against this thing. We have a Nightshade on our Corsola, which means that we should have a lot of play right now. Crunch ends up getting the final shield. We get a defense drop as well, so as long as they don't get a catch, we should be able to win this one, and I know they're likely going to try to catch as soon as possible, knowing that they are debuffed here. They swap out. I see it a mile away. We farm them all the way down with Corsola, and we have a Nightshade ready to go against that Azumarill if it comes back in. GG's to our opponents there. 3-2 to end off the day, but you're about to see something very sad. I gained literally 0 elo from that. A 3-2 at 2800s right now, very high up on the leaderboard. It doesn't even matter. You're not going to go positive unless you have 4-1. You're not gaining any elo. So that's why I'm tryharding here. That's why I'm using a team like this that, I mean, it's very similar to one that I used the other day, but the reason I'm using it is because I have to try my best to win every single battle I can, or else I make no progress, and we're just kind of treading water here. So very unfortunate, but kind of funny to see in the first place. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you want to see these battles live, I stream almost every single day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN. The link to that is in the description, and also I'm going to be uploading a lot more videos to the channel, so if you want to see more videos like this, please make sure to subscribe. Thank you again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.